Hi friends, welcome to the day 3 part 1. Till now we were talking about the cleaning your books, right? Fixing entries, correcting mistakes, understanding numbers. But from today onwards, we are entering a more serious phase, a phase where the focus shifts from the correction to protection. Now we are going to talk about the protecting your protecting your businesses, protecting your mental peace, and protecting your financial credibility. And today's topic is something almost every business fears, but very few understand properly. And that is all about the we are going to discuss tax notices. Now let me ask you something simple. When you hear the word notice, what is your first reaction? So just you have to simple thing. Don't overthink. It is your first reaction. Either it comes comes in your mind stress, confusion, or gets the fear. Because in most cases, right, a notice is not just a document. It is an emotional trigger, right? The moment notice arrives, everything changes. Suddenly you feel something went wrong, and you know what happened. You start questioning your own data. You call your accountants, your team, and you try to recall the past entries. And yes, you open the old files. You start connecting with the things, and and the biggest thought inside your mind is, why did this notice come? But today, I want to change that question. Instead of asking why the notice come, I really want you to start in some different pattern. To start asking, how does a notice come? And this will change entire story. Because once you understand this concept, that there will be something happens, that is a powerful happens. Can say the fear reduces, clarity increases, and yes, your control start begins. And this is the real objective of this session: not to scare you, not to overload you, but to make you just aware. It is a very important series, day 3. So friends, now let me ask something very clearly. Most notices are not because of the fraud. Are not just because of fraud. And the important thing is, all these systems are connected. They are not working in isolation. They are talking to each other. They are cross-checking. They are cross-checking, comparing, validating. And if something does not match, it gets flagged. And that flag becomes a notice. So in simple terms, a notice is not a surprise. It is a result of something that did not align with your books of account, definitely. Now let us understand the triggers, list of triggers I will discuss with you. Because once you understand the triggers, right, you stop fearing the notices. You understand the concept, the things behind this happens, right, and you start preventing them. The first and most common trigger is the data mismatch. It's a trigger, and this is the biggest reason. This is the biggest reason behind the notices. Let me give you a simple example. For example, your GST return shows a certain turnover, okay, and for example, your income tax return showing a different turnover. Now for you, this may be a this may be a timing difference. This may be timing difference. Maybe you booked something earlier or canceled later. Maybe there is a classification error. There is a classification difference or can error. But for the system, what is it? It is all about the inconsistency. And yes, inconsistency attracts attention, right? And second thing is that similarly, your GSTR 2B shows a certain amount of input tax credit, but your books is reflecting something else, right? Or you can say that, or your purchase register is is not aligned with your ITC claim. Right. Let's come to the next example. You can say that your TDS data shows payments which are not properly reflected in your accounts. And these are not the big mistakes individually. They create the signals, and yes, and system is designed to catch the signals. Right. Now let's come to the second trigger. Second trigger is the incomplete or incorrect reporting. Sometimes returns are filed, but the details are not accurate. Details are not accurate. Maybe the wrong classification, maybe missing information, maybe incorrect values, and you feel that the return is filed. So the my job is done. But solely filing is not the end conclusion, right? Accuracy matters because once you submit your data, it becomes a part of the system. And if later does not align with the other data, definitely it raises a question. Yes. And now let's come to third trigger. The third trigger is unusual patterns. If your business suddenly shows a spike in ITC, if your business shows a drop in profit, if your business shows a sudden increase in expenses, if your business shows the inconsistent reporting behavior, definitely it may get flagged. Okay, not because it is not because it is wrong, but yes, but it because it is unusual, right? And systems are built to identify the unusual behavior, right? Anything that breaks the patterns, anything that breaks the patterns becomes a point of attraction, right? Now let's come to the fourth trigger. Fourth trigger is the vendor related issues. This is something, this is really something where many businesses ignore. That is, many businesses ignore this point, this trigger. It means if your vendor is non-compliant, right? If your vendors files incorrect returns, or can say that if your vendor delays in filing, so what happens? What impact? It impacts your data as well because your transactions are connected, right? And the system does not evaluate only your side, no? It evaluates the chain. And this is where many businesses say that they did everything correctly. But the system, what the system is doing, system sees the connection, not just the individual. Right? Now let's pause and think how many of these kind of situations exist in your business. Is there any mismatch? Is there any incomplete reporting? Is there any unusual pattern? Or is there any unusual pattern? Is there any vendor risk? You have to think because the purpose of this discussion, yes, is not to scare you, right? As I said you earlier above, it is all about to make you aware because simple awareness, right, changes everything. Now let us go one level deeper. At the end, why do businesses feel stressed when a notice comes? Because definitely they were not expecting it, right? And they were not tracking the triggers, yes. And can say that they were not reviewing their data from a system perspective, right? And they were only looking at their books. But what about the system? System is not looking at your books in isolation. It is looking your data in relation to multiple data points, right? Now now before I close, I really want to tell you something very important. A notice is not always a problem. Sometimes it's just a question. But the real problem is not the notice, friends. The real problem is the unpreparedness. So at the end, If your data is clean, your records are clear, and your understanding is strong, then even if a notice comes, you can handle it calmly. But other side, if your data is scattered, your assumptions are weak, right, and your records are incomplete, then friends, then even a small notice, right, feels like a big issue. So my goal behind this day 3 series also is not to eliminate, is not to is not to create any kind of fear or stress. So the ultimate goal is not to eliminate the notice completely. That should be from your side. The goal is to prepare yourself, to become the to confident yourself, and to make your all the data structured. And this is all about to handle the notices. So friends, for the day 3 part 1, it is all about this series. So we'll meet in the next part. Thank you so much, and please subscribe this channel. Thank you.